I love bees. Bees get me out into the environment.
We love having bees around. They've become part of our company culture.
I raise bees because they're important. I have a lot of fruit trees, and I raise vegetables.
1 of every 3 bites that we take is dependent on bee pollination.
It's fascinating to me that we are so dependent on one little creature that we know so little about.
Bees are a challenge to raise because there's so many variables.
The weather's going wonkers all the time.
Keeping control of the mites.
The unpredictability.
Pollution's in the environment.
That's why any kind of data I can get about them helps me figure out what they might need.
And BroodMinder allows me a view into my hive without actually having to open it up, and that's kind of cool.
Maintaining a healthy hive is really tricky. BroodMinder watches the hive when you're not there. It watches temperature and humidity inside the hive, and we watch the overall weight of the hive. Most people think that honey just appears in the hive, but a beekeeper knows that there are things called honey flows. As the bees collect this nectar and bring it back to their hive, we see changes at times of 10 pounds a day. So really simply, the BroodMinder scale watches the overall weight of the hive. With the BroodMinder temperature gauge, you see the brood temperature. Brood is the lifeblood of the hive. It's the nursery. It's where all your new bees are coming from, and if you don't have it in 6 weeks, you're going to be out of bees. So really simply, when it's at 95 degrees, they are raising brood. By looking at the temperature and humidity and the weight, we get a lot more insight into what might be going right or wrong with the hive.
So what I love most about BroodMinder is the ability to have that extra piece of information about my hives that I wouldn't get by just opening them and looking at them.
Last year, for example, I saw an 8-pound drop in my hive, and I was able to determine that we had a swarm. We were actually able to capture that swarm and rehive it and generate another hive. And as a brand new beekeeper, that was so rewarding.
It's really easy to use the BroodMinder. You just slip it in between the boxes and walk away. And then I use my iPhone app and just walk up to it and I can get the data readings. It's as easy as using your iPhone.
The BroodMinder is basically a data logger. It's logging the data from your hive. When you want to retrieve that data, it speaks wirelessly to your cell phone and pulls that data back so that you can take it home and analyze it.
The first thing I do when I get into work in the morning is check my BroodMinder and see how my bees are doing.
I do enjoy looking at the data online.
But with a large beekeeper, I don't want to spend the time driving out to a yard when there's not a problem. With the cell, I can see when there's a problem and then schedule it instead of having to go out and check it and then try to figure it out on the fly.
The people who are looking at the data are from all walks of life. Fairly large beekeepers of 100 hives or so, backyard beekeepers, scientists at several universities.
That I can't be in every place at once collecting data, but what we can do instead is rely on citizens that are out in the environment already and use them to collect data for us. Their generosity in collecting data helps us to cover larger areas and be able to generate much more robust statistical models and more meaningful conclusions from our research.
I upload all of my data to BroodMinder.com to share it with the community. It'll help me and it'll help other people.
One of the most rewarding things is having people come up to us and say, we love our BroodMinder. We want the gardeners, the apiarists, we want my mom to be able to use this device and contribute to the betterment of all of our citizen science knowledge. Many, many people now, every morning, every evening, they look at their data and it just pulls you closer to your bees. And something wonderful is coming out of it. Something that we're targeting to be very simple, very reliable, and also give us information that we've never had before.
Anyone who is interested in beekeeping as a hobby or as a profession should really think about adding their data through BroodMinder.com and putting a BroodMinder in their hives. The more data we have, the more we'll know about bees and understanding their behaviors. It'll help us all out.
It's a really easy tool to use, and it gives you really good insight into your hive.
And it just means to me that everything's going well.